The value of your product is not in the effort that you put into it, but what the customer gets from it and is willing to pay for. So today's video, if you don't know who I am, I'm Dan Martell, serial entrepreneur, investor, creator of SaaS Academy, but most importantly, just a hardcore entrepreneur. I love business. I've been building businesses since I was 17. I've built and exited my own companies, became a multimillionaire at 27, and continue to invest in some of the fastest growing companies in the world. One of the principles that I use, not only in my companies, but in the companies that I work with, is this fundamental belief, this mindset. I'm going to share it with you, and it sounds simple, but it's not easy, is to work backwards from your customer. It's literally the secret weapon to Tesla, Amazon, Facebook, and every great consumer product. If you have a product on your desk, it's probably because the company has built a almost religious approach to always get feedback from their customer. And I remember, one of my favorite stories to tell around this is my brother Pierre. He started off as a home builder. He came to me and was like sick of being a mechanic, wants to start a home building company. And I gave him, everything I had in my bank account. I wanted to support him. He was 20, maybe 3 at the time. I was like 25. And he started this home building company, and he went all in. He bought 2 lots. He built these 2, these semi-detached. So he built 2 units. There's 4 units, and 6 months into it, I get a call, and I show up at his house, and I walk in, and there's like no furniture in his house, and I'm like, okay, where's all his furniture? And I walk into the living room on his way to his office, and I'm like looking around. There's no furniture in the living room, and I'm like, yo, bro, are you here? And he's like, yeah. And I go, I think somebody stole your stuff. And he just goes, come here, I want to talk to you. And then I walk past his bedroom, and in the bedroom, there was no furniture, no bed, nothing, where it all was prior, except for an air mattress. And I just look over, he's in his office, and I'm like, yo, what happened? And he starts to tell me the story that essentially he built these 2 houses. He wanted to sell them based on price. He negotiated all the best trades. He did all the work himself. I was looking at like a skeleton of my brother, super skinny. If you meet him today, he looks like the Incredible Hulk. But because he was working every day trying to build these things for the least amount of money, because that was his belief. I'm going to sell it without real estate agents, direct to the market, cheapest price out there. And because of that, when you looked at the house, and I asked him why he hadn't sold any yet, is because he built houses that had what's called no curb appeal. In the real estate industry, there's this thing called curb appeal, which is like, does it look attractive? And unfortunately, he built the ugliest houses on the street. I mean, it's crazy. And what he realized is that even though he was trying to appeal to the budget conscious buyer of a house, he underestimated that the truth is that for, the man who he thought was making the decision was really the wife. She wanted to have the right house, okay? And this is not a man versus woman thing. This is just 90% of the time, if the woman does not love the house for whatever reason, the design, the vibe, the feel, I know that's true for mine, okay? I love the house I live in, but my wife 100% dictated it, okay? She wanted that house, that's the house I got her, okay? I got my office, I got a few other spaces, but it's her decision. And what happened is, because he couldn't sell, he was sitting on these houses, and he was, just construction mortgages and just pulling. He remortgaged his house, he maxed out his line of credit, and he was at the end. And I came in and I said, all right, I don't know anything about building houses, but I know a thing or two about building software and products. And we immediately flipped the whole thing, okay? The fun fact is I actually called my little brother Mo, and I said, hey dude, you're now a home builder. We had to deal with the houses. We had to get Mo to buy. He bought the first one, this ugly, no curb appeal looking house. It was a good deal. I gave him the down deposit to buy the house, and we got him a mortgage. He was like 22 years old paying rent. So he got a house. He moved in, that was one. We got the second one dealt with, third, and then we had one left, and we figured we'll figure it out. But what we changed was the process for designing the next house. And what I recommended my brother, and this is what he executed against, was he went and got 6 people that was his perfect target market. Okay, people he went to high school with. It was a first-time home buyer, women, I think 28 to 32 is the age bracket. And what he did is he brought them around as a secret shopper on a Sunday, went and looked at all the open houses and told them to take photos and write down things on a notepad that they liked about these different houses. And that's what they did. And they did that for a whole day. And at the end of the day, he gave them all some drinks, some martinis, some wine, and had his designer sit down with them and essentially take all this input and show them what they had taken photos and why they like this and why they like that. And then the architect, the designer, designed the new house that he was going to go to the market with. And once he not only designed the house and did 3D renderings and put some marketing collateral, he ended up pre-selling 16 houses in the next 12 months. Okay, from almost going bankrupt to now becoming the largest home builder in Eastern Canada. Martell Home Builders, if you go online, they've won awards. They are the premier home, and they even moved up market. So they used to be like the first-time home buyer, and over the last 10, 15 years have become the premium home construction company, building some of the most luxurious homes on the East Coast of Canada. And I share that story because of that philosophy of working backwards from the customer. And when I think of like how to do this right, there's a few things that come to mind. Number one is, on my team, anytime somebody has a good idea, especially around like a feature or a product direction, I always ask, who said that? And I got this from, not like in an aggravated way, but just like, which customer did you talk to? How did they say that? Can you show me that email? Did you record that conversation, right? Like a lot of stuff is done online. So a lot of it's recorded. Can you show it to me? And the reason why, and I got this from my buddy David Cancel. So he built a company called Drift, amazing company. And it is a philosophy that every customer has an internal employee sponsor. And so that means that there's a voice of a customer that they can at any point talk to their sponsor to get problems resolved, which I love. But most importantly is any product person, any technical person, any marketing person, they're always talking to their customer. They don't pretend like they have the answers. They work backwards from their customer. So that's a big one. Number two is the opportunity to co-create. I love to build innovation, but I also know that at scale, when I build companies, I am not my customer. Okay, I may have been my customer, but today I am not. You may be so far removed from the problems that your customers are facing that you don't have the judgment you used to have. And what I'd rather do is sit down and co-create the right solution for the biggest problems my customers have. And the way I've done that with Clarity was clickable prototypes. You can literally, in today's world, it's even fancier. Back in the day when I was building my last tech, venture-backed tech company, Clarity, I mean, we would just use like this software called Balsamic, where it would let you create these clickable interfaces to simulate the software, and then you could like show it to a customer and get feedback. Today, you can do high fidelity, pixel perfect mock-ups and simulations. I mean, it's amazing what you can do today. But the beauty of it is that you know the solution is going to solve your customer's problem without ever investing time and energy, development resources in building it, because you can show it to them. Very low cost, very low risk. It's how people create models of a house they're building, right? So that's number two, is the co-creation process. Number three is the idea of pre-selling. Okay, working backwards from your customer to pre-sell the solution, to get buy-in, to get what's called validation, to test your riskiest assumptions. The riskiest thing you could ever do is build something that nobody wants. And when people say to me, yeah, Dan, but you can't do that with enterprise software. Yeah, Dan, but you can't do it with toothbrushes. Yeah, Dan, you can't do it with this. No, it's not true. It's not true. My brother does it with houses by getting deposits. My buddy Matt at Pila, which I'm blessed to be an investor and I sit on the board, came out with a product called Lomi, which is the world's first home compostable machine. It's like the coolest thing. You throw in all of your, food scraps and anything like that could be kind of like put into a compost bin, and it turns it into dirt overnight. Okay, it was the largest crowd-funded eco-tech in the history. I think they sold 22,000 units and continues to just grow. And I share that because, they didn't have the ability to just fund a bunch of hardware and to assume that they had the right product and sell it to the market. But what they did is they took the 3D drawings, they created a video, and they did a crowdfunding campaign, which is like crowdfunding, I think, is like a $7 or $8 billion market. So when people say like, you can't pre-sell this, I go, crowdfunding. There's literally no category of business that has not pre-sold what they are about to build before they build it, and it's available to all of us. And when we do that, we're truly aligning with the customer's problems to build the absolute best solution. Tesla does it. Look at what Tesla does with their cars. They pre-sell, they get deposits, they tweak, they get feedback, they have early beta releases. I mean, they're self-driving, everything. I'm gonna let it go because I think some people on the receiving end of this message is gonna go, yeah, it won't work for me, work for me. It's just not true. It's a belief that you have that's holding you back. And when you fight against what the market wants, Buffett says, he has this great quote that says, when a competent manager meets a declining market, the market always wins. Something like that. Like, you can't beat the fact that if you're not working backwards from a customer that's very easy to build something that nobody wants. And I want to leave you with a quote that hopefully wraps this all up, okay? What I learned working with my brother, what I've learned building my software companies and helping hundreds of other clients work backwards from their customer, is that the value of your product is not in the effort that you put into it. A lot of people think like, but I put so much time into this. Go look on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, whatever country you live in, and go see these entrepreneurs that have created board games, okay, or products and invested their life savings and all their time and energy, and they're pleading with the sharks like, but I did all this work, what, it's worth more. And it's like, look, and this is from Peter Drucker, one of the smartest management minds ever. He said, the value of your product is not in the effort that you put into it, but what the customer gets from it and is willing to pay for. That's Peter Drucker. And that, to me, summarizes the whole thing, is that if you don't work backwards from the customer to figure out what they find valuable and they're willing to pay for, then your effort going into it does not matter. That is how the market works. And that's my philosophy. I hope this finds you incredibly well, and I'll see you next Monday. Peace. Later.